Okay, I guess if that character's still on the island, that means they're okay. Oh, hey everybody, how you doing? Just give me a few seconds here to finish up this list I'm working on for today's video. In the meantime, feel free to stare into the lifeless eyes of Barry over here, or, I don't know, make fun of my hair or something. I've tried everything to manage it today. Yeah, I'm out of ideas. Okay, so Eneru, we know he is on the moon right now. That's confirmed. That is canon. Moria, he's, well, he might still be alive. I'm not really sure. Kizaru, okay, I think we all know what Kizaru's up to right now. To use a phrase, he's flying higher in the atmosphere than Eneru, and as we mentioned, he is on the moon. So, yeah, okay. I think that settles everything, though. Welcome, everybody. In today's video, we are going to be going through every villain and antagonist in the One Piece story and finding out where they are now. Some of them we know for a fact where they are right now, and others are going to require a little bit of guesswork, but we're going to figure it out regardless. Spoiler alert, we are not going to go through every single villain and antagonist in this story. That would be kind of excessive. You know, if I had to go through, like, every member of Baroque Works, like, not just the officer and the frontier agents, but also all of the millions, all of the billions, all of the divine goat soldiers that were part of Eneru's army at Skypiea, all 50 of them. Yeah, sure, we're going to be doing that today. Okay, screw it. You know what? Let's do that. All 50 of the Divine Soldiers. Where are they right now? These are the questions I know you want answered. All right. Divine Soldier number 1, he started a bakery. Divine Soldier number 2, he's helping Divine Soldier number 1 start a bakery. But Divine Soldier number 3 is the insurance officer helping Divine Soldiers number 1 and 2 get that loan out so they can initially buy the bakery. Divine Soldier number 4 is going to be the delivery driver to bring all the pastries to the people that works at the bakery. And it's just gonna keep going on that way until Divine Soldier 50, who decided to be a dentist for whatever reason. Okay, so there you go. They all work at a bakery except for the 50th one. All right, so we're gonna start off at the very beginning of the story. We're gonna go canonically here. Some of them, because, you know, there's certain story arcs where, like, you think somebody's a villain, but then they're not a villain by the end of it. I still might include them or not. We'll get to there when we get to there. But let's start off at the beginning of One Piece. The first villain Luffy ever had to face in his backstory. That is right, Higama the Mountain Bandit. And you know what's funny? It's actually hilarious. I made this huge list of all these major villains in the One Piece story. We got Eneru, Don Krieg, Crocodile. Yeah, because Don Krieg is a major villain in the One Piece story. Doflamingo, you know, everybody like that. Kaido, Big Mom. The only character that is 100% confirmed to be deceased is Higama. That's right. All the other ones are either alive or their status is unknown. They might be dead. We don't know for certain, like Moria, for instance, but we know 100% only one character on this list is dead, and that is, in fact, Higama. He got devoured by the Lord of the Coast, so I'd say he's pretty dead. I mean, who knows? This is One Piece. Maybe it's like a Jonah living in the whale kind of thing, where he got ate by the giant sea king, but now he's just in the stomach, and it's been like, you know, over 12 years or whatever, but he's still in the stomach, and every now and then the Lord of the Coast will, like, eat a news coup, and so that's how he gets the news. And it's like, oh, Luffy, that brat from the village, is now one of the emperors? What is this? I'm living inside of a sea monster eating half-dissolved seagull for dinner. Ugh. Dang it, the world just is not fair. But no, so that's Higama. He's pretty dead. If you want me to tell you exactly where he is right now, I could probably narrow it down. All right, so he was devoured by a giant sea monster, and then probably, you know, passed through the digestive, and then, you know, stuff happens. You know, it's biology. Biology is everything. And then probably just settled on the ocean floor outside of Fuchsia, so he is now the nutrients for kelp, or seaweed, I guess. So that's good. We at least confirmed Higama's current status. That was a very important question I'm sure a lot of you were on the edge of the seat for. Okay, next up we have Alvida, the first pirate Luffy had to actually face off against during his journey. He hit her really hard and sent her flying. That's actually a case with a lot of these. Now, we don't know exactly where Alvida ended up, but I'm assuming wherever Luffy knocked her to was the location where she got the slip fruit. She ate it, all of the fat slid off of her body, and now she looks like this. She eventually ended up running into Buggy when Buggy was missing his body parts after Luffy also punched Buggy really, really hard. There was a giant crab or something trying to attack them, and so Alvida shot the giant crab, which Alvida, you know, you were never my favorite villain, but you're really rising down the ranks now. You shot a giant crab in the face. Granted, it was not a giant mechanical crab, but Alvida, you're on thin ice. The only villain I hate more than Alvida right now is Giola, because she took away Nami's boobs in that one scene at Dressrosa. So there are some things that simply cannot be forgiven, okay? Shooting giant crabs is one of them. All right. So Alvida is, of course, a member of the Buggy Pirates right now, and she's actually been fairly loyal. I mean, yeah, there was that point where she kind of left him in Impel Down, but, you know, after Buggy returned, after escaping Impel Down, Alvida was still there, still part of the crew. You think she could have just left at any point, like this crew is kind of, you know, dead in the water, I'm just gonna get out of here, but no, she stayed around. Buggy eventually became a Warlord of the Sea. You see Alvida there as still part of his entourage, and now that the Warlord system has been abolished, she, along with Mr. 3 and Buggy and Kabaji and Moji and Richie and everybody, are now on the run from the Marines, trying to get away from Kalibali Island somehow. So I'm assuming they're not on Kalibali anymore. I'm assuming they figured out some way to escape, because that was the kind of the whole point where Buggy was like, how dare you Marines attack us? How dare you turn on us? Men, we shall go to battle at once. And everybody in Kalibali Island's like, yeah, Captain Buggy, he knows what's best. We'll charge into battle. And then meanwhile, Buggy's like, yeah, okay, let's get the hell out of here. So knowing Buggy, I'm going to assume that he sent like the majority of his followers, like the prisoners from Impel Down and the other members of his like pirate dispatch organization, to go and face off against the Marines. Meanwhile, his core crew, like Kabaji, Moji, Alvida, Mr. 3, they're all going to get the hell out of there. Okay, so I don't think they're on Kalibali anymore. They're probably sailing somewhere in the New World right now, trying to keep a low profile. Maybe they'll try to find Shanks or something. They need to find somebody, some safe haven to last, because it's the New World, and that's not going to, they're not going to make it very far unless they have some connections, right? After Alvida, we have Captain Morgan. I made a video about Morgan a few months back. Morgan, who has an axe for a hand, in case you forgot. Not Morgan's the guy in charge of the World Economic Journal. One's a bird, one's a guy with an axe for a hand. And so what happened with him is, after he was not actually punched out by Luffy, he was actually cut down by Zoro. He was court-martialed. He was thrown in jail at Shelltown. Garp eventually showed up to try to bring him into Marine HQ to face trial. He escaped, sliced down Garp, but it's Garp, so he didn't really, you know, have much of it. He didn't even wake up from his nap after Morgan sliced him, so that shows you how much of a threat he was in that particular instance. Took Helmeppo hostage very briefly, but he was able to just, you know, convince his father to let him go, and so now Morgan is just sailing the East Blue, I guess. The last time we saw him was before the time skip, so over 2 years ago, just sailing around, taking a nap in his boat. So, you know, I don't know where he's at right now. I'm assuming he probably landed on some island at this point. I'm assuming it's not like Gendry from Game of Thrones where you're rowing for 5 seasons or whatever. He probably, you know what, honestly, and I said this in the Morgan video, it would probably have been best for Morgan to just land on an island and then just go and live in the woods. You know, he's already a lumberjack. He's already certified for that job, right? Plus, the fact that he has a giant axe for a hand, that's sort of an identifying mark. You know, it'd be like, hey, do you know where this, you know, renegade Marine officer went? You know, he escaped. He should have been court-martialed. He did some horrible things. You can't miss him. He's literally, he has an iron jaw and an axe for a hand. He'd be like, yeah, I think he lives in that house right down there next to that bakery. You know, obviously, in order for him to take a low cover, he would have had to go out into the woods, have a log cabin, and he just lives there, like Thanos at the end of, you know, the Infinity War. He's just out there living in the wilderness and just trying to make it by day to day. That's pretty much Morgan right now. Okay. Then we have Buggy, who I said, you know, Buggy was defeated by Luffy, and after a series of a lot of wacky events, he ends up in Impel Down, eventually gets freed, fights in Marineford, accepts an invitation into the Shichibukai, lives on Kalibali Island during the 2-year time skip, and now the Warlord system is abolished, so he's on the run with Alvida and Mr. 3. Next up, we have Captain Kuro. Okay, so Captain Kuro, there was actually a really cool comic drawn by a guy by the name of Jordan. I made a video about that as well, going over that entire comic on what could have happened to Kuro after the events of the Syrup Village arc. In the manga, we really don't know anything whatsoever. He was knocked out by Luffy, which is kind of par for the course at this point. Get used to me saying that. And then after that, they kind of, like, his crew grabbed him, threw him on the ship, the Benzin Black, and then just sailed away into the sunset, okay? And as far as the manga is concerned, that is the last time we saw anything or even talked about Kuro, okay? In the anime, we get to see a little bit more after Luffy is issued his first bounty after Arlong Park. We see him in his broken down ship just looking very dejected that he has to return to pirate life. I'm imagining that, yeah, I could see that happening because he's kind of on the run now. He tried to be a butler for 3 years, but he royally messed up that. So really there's no other option for him unless he wants to go the Morgan route with it, I guess, and just live out in the middle of the woods far away from anybody, the Marines or anybody could find him. And I guess you'd have to like kill his crew along the way so they don't talk. But yeah, he probably returned to being a pirate begrudgingly, and we don't really know what he's up to right now, or maybe he is living in solitude, or maybe he did, you know, like in the comic that Jordan drew, maybe he went and started his own bar somewhere on Pirate Island. That's always an option as well. We have Don Krieg. Okay, so Krieg is one of those characters that could be dead, but we're not sure. He was punched out by Luffy at the Baratier. The gas was everywhere. I don't think Krieg got affected with the gas. I think it was just his crew and Gin. I think Krieg himself, though, had the mask on the entire time, but maybe the mask got destroyed and he did inhale some of that gas or whatever. Anyway, the last time we see him, they basically have a little dinghy, and they threw all of the members of the crew onto the dinghy, as well as Krieg, and Gin was just sailing away, and he's just like, you know, yeah, this gas, you know, it's probably going to kill me, but whatever. I'm going to spend my last few days alive sailing with my crew that I've always sailed with. I guess you could say that's kind of noble of Gin, you know, that he won't abandon his crew even after all they've done to him. You know, after all that Krieg did to betray Gin, he's like, hey, look, you know, it's what you reap what you sow, so to speak. You know, it's like, I'm the demon Gin or whatever. This is my captain, Don Krieg. I guess if we're all going down, we're going down together. So thanks, Sanji. Thanks, Luffy. I'm out. And so Gin just leaves. And so I'm assuming Krieg did not die, but he was really heavily beat up. I like to imagine that they did sail away, find like a cove or some place to land, some beach to land, because they really were in like a tiny little dinghy. And so they were all just kind of on the beach, just like, you know, patching their wounds up or whatever. You know, they know they don't have a lot of time left to live because of the gas. Maybe when Krieg finally came to, maybe Krieg somewhere in his battle armor had the antidote. I mean, I guess that's always possible, you know, because Krieg had all those weapons and everything inside of him. He might have had some backup antidotes. It would just make sense. So maybe Gin or the others, like, ripped apart the armor and grabbed the antidote, or maybe, you know, Krieg woke up and he's just like, how dare you abandon my plan? We're gonna go back to the Baratier. But then Gin finally just had enough, and he just, like, bashed Krieg in the face with his giant, like, tonfas and knocked him down. He was already weakened from his fight with Luffy, so, you know, Gin would have been able to maybe knock him down, and he's just like, listen, you're an idiot, okay? The only reason I'm still with you is, I guess, some twisted sense of honor, I guess? I don't know. But these are your men, alright? So give them the antidote, or I'm just gonna beat it out of you, right? I like to imagine that happened, and maybe they just took the antidote and then they just abandoned Krieg. So out of all of these, kind of like Wapol, when Wapol was defeated, but Wapol eventually had his rise back to the top, you know, with his founding of the Wapo medal and everything. I think in the situation with Krieg, if his crew really did survive, they would have just abandoned him. They would have followed Gin, if nothing else, and then Krieg would have just been left alone on this beach. All of his armor is just, you know, ripped off of him, all broken apart, and he just has nobody to follow him. And he's just like, I am Don Krieg, you fools! Krieg! And he's just shouting there. But the way Krieg is and how arrogant he is, I feel like he would be there all night, right? It would take him so long to acknowledge the fact he has nothing. He'd be there ranting to himself until like 3 o'clock in the morning to the freaking crabs on the beach. Like, crabs, I'm Don Krieg, listen to me! And then all the people from the island are like, who's that crazy old guy shouting down by the beach? He's like, let's just keep walking. Let's just ignore him. You know, so I think he's just living in destitution on some random island in poverty, basically. I think that's the best, you know, Krieg could really hope for. Then we have Arlong. Okay, so I made a whole video, like a specific video talking about where Arlong ended up, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on him. TLDR, wouldn't it be interesting, because Arlong, we did not see him at Impel Down. He had a bounty of 20 million, okay? Buggy's bounty of 15 million landed him in the first level of Impel Down, so Arlong should have either have been in level 1 or level 2 of Impel Down, and we didn't see him there, okay? So we know he was taken away on a prison ship, because Hachi mentioned that. Hachi was the one that managed to escape, but Arlong and Chu and Karubi were still on the ship. Wouldn't it be a crazy twist of fate if Arlong was taken to Marijois and became a slave there? working for the Celestial Dragons, like one of the slaves, you know, managing that, like the travel vators or whatever, managing the red port, you know, making all of this crazy technology work at Marie Joie, because 95% of all the technology at Marie Joie runs on slave power, because that's One Piece. It's messed up in that one particular instance, right? But it would be really interesting to see how that would happen if the revolutionaries managed to free all the slaves. So like Sabo and Morley and everybody, let's say they freed the slaves, and we see like Arlong and Chu and Karubi like get away. What would they do in that instance? Would they help out the revolutionary army, or would they see them as like, well, you know, we were enslaved by humans, of course the humans did this, all humans are enemies, even the ones that freed us are our enemies? Would they do that, or would they come to a sort of understanding with the revolutionary army where it's like, okay, we understand you don't trust humans after everything they did to Fisher Tiger, plus, you know, enslaving you personally, but we're the revolutionaries, okay? And there's, by the way, there's Hack is a member of the revolutionary army. They're not all humans, right? So that would be interesting. What if Hack was the one that maybe ran into Arlong, and Hack might have known a little bit about him? Maybe Arlong knows a little bit about Hack, and, you know, maybe Arlong would be like, Hack, how could you possibly work for these humans? He's like, Arlong, of course there's a lot of humans out there that are evil, like the ones that imprisoned you, but don't you understand the Celestial Dragons are like the most evil humans in the entire world? Like, that's what we're trying to do. We acknowledge that. We agree with you. We're trying to take them down. So, hey, look, if you want to just leave and just, you know, never bother anybody again, that's fine, but maybe Hack might say, Arlong, Chu, Karubi, help us, help the Revolutionary Army wipe out the Celestial Dragons, help us declare war on the world and free the rest of the slaves. After that, you can go off and do whatever, or you can join us. That's fine. It'd be very interesting from Arlong's story to see how that concludes, you know, see where that goes from there. But we don't know that for certain. That's just headcanon. That's just my idea. We know he was on a prison ship and Hachi escaped, and that's all we know. But he probably wasn't an Impel Down, because we definitely would have seen him, or at least he would have been mentioned at some point. Next up, we have Smoker from Logtown. Okay, so Smoker isn't really a villain, but he is an antagonist, so I included him here. Smoker is now a Vice Admiral of the Marines. We saw him at Punk Hazard, and currently he is heading to Vegapunk's laboratory along with all of the children from Punk Hazard that him and Tashigi rescued, along with the G5 Marines as well. They might have already very well have met Vegapunk. They might have been at his lab right now, or they might be heading somewhere else. We don't exactly know, because the time frame's a little off here. Also, they might be heading to deal with the Warlord situation, because, yeah, Smoker and Tashigi, they're aware of how corrupt the Marines are, given what happened with Virgo and everybody, but at the same time, it's like he's still a Vice Admiral. He still wants to be a Marine, but he really wants to, like, reform the Marines. So he might view it as like, because him and I think, well, okay, Smoker and Fujitora, I'm not really sure how their relationship is, but I feel like they would get along, because, you know, it's kind of like a similar kind of justice that Aokiji had, so maybe. But at any rate, yeah, so maybe Smoker is like, oh yeah, the Warlord system was abolished, that's a good thing, so I'll help bring him in. That might be another situation there, too. Okay, when we get to Whiskey Peak, we know, like, you know, Igaram was initially supposed to be the villain, but then he turned out to be an ally near the end. So I just put Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine as the main villains of the Whiskey Peak arc, okay? Because they were like the strongest villains there. Luffy and Zoro were still able to one-shot them both, but still, they were the strongest on that island at that time. I guess you could say Robin is as well, but we know exactly what's up with Robin. You know, she's currently a member of the Straw Hats, so there you go. She's about to fight a giant spider lady. That should be fun. But when it comes to Mr. 5 and Miss Valentine, they joined up after the prison break with Miss Golden Week, and the last time we see all of these Baroque Works operatives, not every single one, because Crocodile and Mr. 1 are off doing their own things, but they opened up a new spider cafe somewhere in the desert of some random island, and Miss Golden Week used her rainbow colors or whatever to create all of the dreams and bring the dreams to reality for all the Baroque Works agents. So Mr. 5 is now a fireman. And, which actually, you know what, you would laugh about that, but you think about it, like, his devil fruit literally does make him immune to explosions. So, I don't know if it's, like, fire or explosions specifically. I'm assuming it's explosions specifically, but still a very useful ability to have for a fireman. So that's Mr. 5, or Gem of the Border, which is his real name. And then we have Mikita, or Miss Valentine, who is, she is now a chocolate lady. I don't exactly know what that means, but she's chocolate lady. Actually, you know what? She might legitimately work at a bakery. The Spider Cafe might have an attached bakery, you know, like a Starbucks also makes, like, delicious cookies and stuff like that. That's what she might be in charge of. Okay, let's just roll with that. Okay. Next up, we have Mr. 3 from Little Garden. As I said, Mr. 3 is now part of Buggy's crew on the lam, so to speak, hiding from the Marines, most likely. Then we have Wapple. Wapples is probably the most interesting. After he was punched out by Luffy, he did end up in straight-up poverty, ended up almost almost getting arrested by the Marines, but he got away, living under bridges. Really sad Wapol. You know, that's a sad Wapol right there. However, he did discover Wapol metal by eating a bunch of stuff and combining it together in his gullet using his Baku Baku no Mi, creating this new type of metal, which is actually the type of metal that the Frankie Shogun is made out of now, so it did have a use, you know, and so he rose to the top, started his own toy shop, and then his own toy empire, and then his own, like, giant company, and he eventually got welcomed back into the world government through Reverie. You know, he has a spot there, and he now rules over the evil Black Drum Kingdom in the South Blue. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I love the fact that evil is, like, in the name of the title. Like the world government's like, okay, Wapol, we'll give you your own island. You know, welcome back to the world government. And Wapol's like, ah, that's perfect. I'll name it Evil Black Drum Kingdom because I am evil. And the Gorosei are just stamping up. It's like, yeah, you sure are, buddy. Here you go. Have fun ruling your own island. Okay, we're the world government. We don't really care about corruption, okay? Have fun. And so that's what Wapol does. And he's also married to Miss Universe. So that's a thing. They also have a little pet dog. That's a little robot dog. Okay, that's cool. Crocodile! Okay, so Crocodile and Mr. One, both after Marineford, after they got freed from Impel Down, go into the New World, and we don't really know what they're up to right now. We always see Crocodile just hanging out. Last time we saw him, he was like in a fancy hotel, what it seemed, still wearing fancy clothes, reading a paper, so he's certainly not living in poverty. He's certainly, I think, and I've said this before, I think he's trying to start up another criminal organization, because that's what Crocodile does, except this time it's going to be way more quality, quantity, wait, no, quality, yeah, more quality rather than quantity, okay? Because whereas Baroque Works had, like, you know, hundreds, thousands of soldiers with the, you know, the frontier agents, officer agents, millions, and then the billions, that was way too much, maybe, okay? And so maybe in this case, Crocodile's building up a new Baroque Works, like a neo-Baroque Works, except this organization's only going to have, like, 10 members or something, and so Mr. One's going to be one of them, and then maybe the other ones, or maybe he's, like, hiring really famous bounty hunters, or, like, mercenaries from all over the One Piece world. That would be a cool way to bring bounty hunters back into the plot of the story, you know, like, oh, these really strong bounty hunters, like, you know, there's bounty hunters that live in the New World that take on really strong pirates, so they have to be strong themselves. We just don't really focus on them all that much, okay? So, yeah, there's, like, this really hardcore Boba Fett looking kind of, you know, bounty hunter mercenary in a bar, sharpening his giant, like, you know, Owazamono sword or something, and then freaking Crocodile, or maybe Mr. One. Mr. One walks in, and everybody just shuts up. And then, you know, somebody tries to accost Mr. One. He's like, what are you doing in here? And Mr. One just, you know, makes a blade or something and just holds it up to the dude's neck. And he's just like, I have business with that guy over there. Step aside if you don't want to lose your head. And the guy's like, oh, okay, I know who you are. He's like, yeah. And so he just runs away. And Mr. One just walks up to the freaking Boba Fett guy and he slams his sword hand on the ground. And he's just like, my boss has a proposition for you. Boba Fett's just like, knew this day would come. I heard you guys were recruiting all up and down the New World. What's in this for me? And maybe, you know, Mr. One's gonna, he's like, well, he's going to pay you a lot of money. Or you have the prestige of working with, you know, Crocodile, Sir Crocodile himself. Or it's like, you know, he has big plans for the New World. He lays out the plan and Boba Fett's like, I agree, okay, and then they go with him, okay, so it might be some situation like that, okay, where Crocodile's starting up a new criminal organization. For what end, I couldn't tell you, but I guess we'll see. Next up, we have Bellamy. Bellamy had a story arc, okay? So he got punched out by Luffy, not once, but twice. That's a rare thing for this. That doesn't always happen, okay? So he got punched out by Luffy twice. Doflamingo betrayed him. Oh, look at the look on his face right here. You just can't help but feel sad for Bellamy by the point we get to the end of Dressrosa. All right, he just entrusted so much of his life. You know, Doflamingo was really like his childhood hero in a messed up way, right? And he was like a teenager when he joined the crew, and so he's young, and he doesn't understand, and he's just like, yeah, I'm gonna be part of Doflamingo Doflamingo's crew. I'm gonna fly the Smile. And then he finds out what an asshole Doflamingo is and stuff. He's like, oh, was my whole life just a lie? But then he decided, you know what, I'm going to be my own man. I'm gonna live for myself, not for Doflamingo, not for anybody. And he kind of retired being a pirate. I mean, sort of. He's still a de facto member of the Grand Fleet, but he went to the island with all the different dyes and the flags, and he's trying to make probably a flag for the Straw Hat Grand Fleet itself. Or he's gonna make like the best flag ever for the Straw Hats. Like, here is is a new Jolly Roger to fly on your ship made out of like this indestructible cloth. It doesn't burn, it doesn't get wet or whatever like that. It resists, you know, explosions to a certain extent. You know, here's the best flag ever for the best pirate ever, the king of the pirates. So there you go. That's probably something with Bellamy. So he definitely had a little story there. Eneru, and I feel like I've mentioned that more than enough times. I just did a video with Sensei about that over on his channel a couple days ago, talking about how much I want Eneru to come back. Go watch the Moon video, go watch Sensei's video where I mention it. TLDR on that, I want Eneru to come back down from the moon with Uranos, the ancient weapon of the sky, with an entire army of automata to maybe take over Laugh Tale or the New World or something. I don't know. You could spin it a few different ways, but I want that basic premise to happen. Alright, so you go, Eneru. But other than that, he's just on the moon right now, chilling out, eating apples, I guess. Moon apples! Then we have Foxy. I'll be honest with you, Foxy is in this weird kind of limbo space where he's a canon character. We all know he's a canon character, but he has way more filler appearances than canon appearances. He's appeared in so many different filler arcs in the anime. That Nebulandia OVA, he has showed up in Stampede. You know, it's just like so much more filler than canon, so can he really be considered canon? Anyway, Luffy punched the crap out of him in the last fight of the Davy back. Punched him, you know, Afro Luffy, ultimate super mega uppercut punch. Knocked him out. I think as far as the manga is concerned, after Luffy, you know, gave them the really crappy Jolly Roger, they sailed away, kind of swearing vengeance on the Straw Hats, but never actually following through with it in the manga, and I really hope they never do. I hope Foxy never shows up again in the manga if I had it my way, so we'll see what happens with that. Please, Oda, don't subject us to more Foxy. We already have enough Foxy in the anime, right? I mean, like, it's really some situation where maybe the anime couldn't use half of these villains. Like, they couldn't just bring Arlong back for a filler arc. Oda might be doing something with Arlong. They didn't want to bring Wapol back because Oda might have had a plan for Wapol, and he did. But then they get to freaking Foxy, and I would have laughed if Oda just tells the anime department, you know what, I'm not doing anything else with Foxy the entire story. He's never going to show back up. So if you guys want to use Foxy for something, go ahead, go crazy. And that's the reason he shows up as much, because Oda doesn't even care about him anymore. Hey, if you think about it, it makes sense. Okay. So then we have Water 7. I was going to put Lucci, because, obviously, but then who would have been the main villain at Enies Lobby? So I just put Franky for Water 7, because Franky, for the majority of Water 7, was an enemy of the Straw Hats, and now he is a Straw Hat, so I think we all know what's up with Franky right now. He's fighting a giant Triceratops inside of a Megazord. No, Franky's inside of the Megazord. The Triceratops isn't inside of a Megazord. That would be, oh man, that would be nuts if, like, Franky's fighting Sasaki, and he has him almost defeated, and then Sasaki's like, I guess I have to break out my trump card. Do 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 do, and then this giant mech. It's a giant mech Triceratops that Sasaki, as a Triceratops, goes into, and Franky's just like, "Oh, you think you can out Power Ranger me?" Click. Do 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 do, and then we have Battle Franky 30. Okay, Battle Franky, the Shogun is 38, right? So that means that we have Battle Franky 39, which is a giant mech on top of the Franky Shogun. Yes, that's how that's going to go, 100%. But yeah, Franky, I guess, was a villain for Water 7 for a hot minute, so I'll throw him in there. Then Enies Lobby, we have Lucci. Lucci, in particular, was not just punched out by Luffy once or twice like Bellamy. He was punched out quite a bit, like an infinite amount of times. He was punched with jet gatling, so much so he got knocked into a straight-up coma, so they had to get him medical treatment. There was literally a whole side arc, a whole cover series, where they had to try to get medical, pay the medical bills to save Lucci's life, okay? So that's how that goes. Lucci recovered. He told the government, you know, we will return someday, and they did, and now they are members of CP Aegis Zero, guarding the Celestial Dragons. We saw them at Reverie. Lucci himself is probably not at Wano right now, probably still at Reverie or whatever, but they are still members of the CP Zero. However, they are not the leaders. Like, Lucci was like the strongest member of CP9, and he was like kind of like, Spondum was technically the leader, but Lucci was the leader. I don't think Lucci or Spondum or any of the CP9 members are the leaders or even the strongest members of CP Zero. I think there's some, Lucci's probably pretty up there. Lucci's probably like in the top 5 easy, maybe even the top 3, but I feel like there there are people in CP0 stronger than Lucci still, okay? And Lucci's even gotten stronger since the time skip. So yeah, that's what's up with him and his mighty companion Hattori. Next up, we have Moria from Thriller Bark. Okay, so Moria, as I said, might be alive, might be dead, we don't know. After he was defeated by Luffy at Thriller Bark by not punching him out so much as, if I recall this correctly, Luffy turned into a giant bullet and then slammed into Moria, causing him to vomit up a bunch of shadows. Yeah, that's what happened, okay? So after Luffy did that, he lost consciousness, he recovered to fight in Marineford, but then after Marineford, Doflamingo, upon orders from the higher-ups and the Celestial Dragons, the Gorosei most likely, he was ordered to be killed and executed right there by Doflamingo. However, Absalom was secretly there at Marineford, used his invisibility powers to get Moria out of there, healed him, and then we didn't hear anything from him for a while until after the time skip. He appeared at Hachinosu to get Absalom back. Absalom is apparently dead. Actually, we know he is dead because his fruit is reincarnated and Shiryu ate it. And now Moria was basically given an ultimatum by Blackbeard. It's basically like, die right here and we take your fruit, or join us and, you know, become part of the Blackbeard Pirates. I don't exactly know what Moria was going to do in that situation. Part of me thinks he might have realized he was smart enough to know that, like, okay, I'm outmatched here, I'm outgunned, I'm surrounded, there's really nothing I can do here. I have my zombies, but, you know, against the 10 Titanic captains and Blackbeard himself, you know, they're not really going to be that useful. So he might have realized that he couldn't get out of it, so he's just like, okay, fine, Kishi, I guess I'll listen to you, whatever, and just go with Blackbeard. Or he might have fought to the last, and maybe he might have died, and then Blackbeard got his Kage no Mi. So either way, Blackbeard kind of wins in this particular instance. Moving on, we have Duval. So Duval was a villain for a very brief amount of time at the beginning of the Sabaody Archipelago arc. The guy with the iron mask, and then he takes off the iron mask, and then Sanji kicks him in the face. That's something different. Luffy did not kick him in the face. Sanji was the one that kicked him into his face, reconfigured his face, and now he looks like this. Absolutely fabulous. And so him and the rest of the Rosy Life Riders protected the Thousand Sunny for about a year before they got too beaten up, and then Kuma, or the PX-0, kind of took it from there, protecting the Sunny, and now I guess they're still just hanging out on the Sabaody Archipelago. I don't really think they're traffickers anymore. I don't think they're slavers anymore after meeting the Straw Hats, so they probably have a whole new kind of business strategy right now, which I'm thinking, say it with me now, everybody, that's right, they're working at the amusement park. Of course, you got the Sabaody Park right there. You know, you maybe the rest of the Rosy Life Riders, maybe Duval runs the Ferris wheel now for a living. So there you go. That's something. So now we get to Sabaody proper, and I decided to just go with Kizaru, you know, because, you know, Kizaru, yes, you know, there was Kuma, but we've later find out Kuma was a good guy, Sentomaru, I guess, and then the other members of the Supernovas, but Kizaru is, of course, the strongest out of all of them. He single-handedly curb-stomped like 5 or 6 of the Supernovas in one big attack. He didn't really even have to try, you know, so he's ridiculously powerful. So he was, I think, the main antagonist of Sabaody, if you were going to pick one definitively. Kizaru is the only Admiral pre-time skip that is still an Admiral post-time skip. Aki Inu got promoted, Aokiji left, and then Fujitora and then Green Bull got, you know, recruited later. So Kizaru is a subscriber of Unclear Justice, which we don't know what that really means, and he's just there kind of still doing his thing. We haven't really had any big moments with Kizaru since the time skip. We see him every now and then, but we don't know what he's up to, but I guess we're going to find out pretty soon. So yeah, that's Kizaru, just hanging out in his office, clipping his fingernails. But what is he really planning? Okay, so next up we have Amazon Lily, and I'm just going to go with Boa here because, yes, you know, she was a villain for the majority of the Amazon Lily arc, of course, so we'll just go with that. You know, her sisters kind of made up the main villains that Luffy had to kind of overcome. Later on, we find out they're not villains, they're actually allies. Boa falls head over heels in love with Luffy, helps him get into Impel Down, helps him train a little bit by taking him to Ruskaina. Also at Marineford, helps him a lot there. And then after the time skip and after Luffy rejoins his friends, we don't really get much of her. But then recently, when the Warlord system is abolished, we know Kobe and some other high-ranking Marines are heading to Amazon Lily to bring in Boa, as well as the Kuja at large, because they're just a regular pirate crew now. And the last time we saw Boa was just chilling out in her throne room like, Empress, Marines are coming! And then Boa's just like, well, they really don't know anything about what they're doing, do they? That's the whole reason we became warlords to begin with. Because we're strong. So we're probably going to get a fight maybe in between Act 3 and 4 of Wano, or maybe after Wano. We'll see what happens. I want to see where this goes. I want to see Boa in action again. I mean, who wouldn't, right? So yeah, that's what's up with her right now. Then we have Blackbeard. Wait, no, hold on, I skipped Magellan. Sorry, Magellan, don't want to skip Magellan. Okay. Man, I love Magellan too, man. I mean, Luffy did punch him, but he didn't go down. Out of all of the pre-time skip villains, I'm not saying Luffy would be able to just to one-shot all of them right now, but especially you would have to be careful with Magellan. Yes, Magellan, you know, we didn't really see him use Haki or anything during Impel Down. Maybe he learned it in the 2 years. He's the Vice Warden right now. He, you know, willingly demoted himself because he felt like he didn't deserve the title of Warden after the mass breakout and everything. But even so, even with him being a Vice Warden and with maybe not even knowing Haki, Luffy would still have to be careful fighting him, especially when he created the Venom Demon thing, because if one drop of that Venom Demon stuff gets on you, it's basically going to dissolve you. I'm thinking Luffy would probably win right now with all the, you know, tricks he's learned and the immunity to the poison that Luffy has. But Magellan would still be a very difficult opponent for even some of the really stronger members, like Doflamingo. You know, Doflamingo's in Impel Down. If Doflamingo had to fight Magellan, I don't think it would be an easy victory for Doflamingo, right? I mean, it might be because Doflamingo can kind of fight at a distance, but maybe when Magellan opens up his Venom Demon, the threads just dissolve. So there's a lot of stuff to keep in mind here. Magellan is very dangerous. He's in Impel Down. Last time we didn't see him, but he was mentioned by Dofi. I guess Magellan, or I guess Hannibal, maybe at Magellan's request, evacuated all of level 6. So now it's only Doflamingo in solitary confinement on level 6 Eternal Hell. And he was like, Magellan, are you removing everybody to keep me safe? Because Doflamingo has, like, secrets. And I guess they wanted to make sure nobody could learn about the secrets that Doflamingo had about the Celestial Dragons and everything, which is why he's now in solitary confinement. So Magellan is there. There's apparently an assassin sneaking into Impel Down from Marijois, maybe a member of CP0 to exterminate Doflamingo before he could talk. Maybe Magellan will get involved there. Maybe Magellan and Doflamingo will have a tag battle. Who knows? But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Now we come to Blackbeard, okay? Blackbeard, who is the villain I picked at Marineford because, yeah, there was a lot of strong customers at Marineford. You got Akainu and everybody, but I went with Blackbeard, who was kind of the one out of all of them. He's the one that kind of, you know, is like he kind of showed up the Whitebeard crew and the Marines at the end of that arc, right? And got away scot-free, essentially, with the Gura Gura no Mi in tow. That's kind of a big deal. So we all know what's up with Blackbeard. He became a Yonko over the 2-year time skip. He beat up Marco and the remaining members of the Whitebeard crew at the Payback War, and now he is a proper Yonko on Hachinosu Island. We don't really know what he's up to, other than just randomly going out there in the ocean and retrieving, you know, strong Devil Fruit powers. Beyond that, we don't really know what his ultimate goal is. We saw Burgess and what he's up to. We saw Shiryu with the Invisibility Fruit. We saw him asking Moria to join him, but beyond that, Blackbeard, you know, I think he's just waiting to see what's going to happen with Kaido and Big Mom in Wano, because he has a spy in Wano right now, just waiting to see what's going to happen at Wano, and then he might make another move, okay? But for right now, he's just chilling out at Hachinosu. He's got the ladies, he's got the booze, he's got his pirate paradise that was formerly Rox's pirate paradise, so there's probably a connection between the two there. So yeah, that's where Blackbeard is, but I don't think he's, oh yeah, and then also, after the Warlord system got abolished, he was like saying, it's time to move out, men, it's time to get going. I can assume that's maybe going after the other warlords, trying to recruit them into his crew, maybe. Not really sure how he could recruit any. I know Boa would not accept. Weevil definitely wouldn't, because Weevil assumes that, you know, Whitebeard is his dad, which I guess it's possible he could be. But, you know, Blackbeard was the one that killed Whitebeard, so there's no way Weevil would ever join him. And I don't think Mihawk would join up with Blackbeard either. So maybe Blackbeard was just kind of looking to, like, eliminate the warlords to get their Devil Fruit powers or something, but I'm not really sure. But he's off there in the world doing something. Then time skip happens, and then we have the Return to Sabaody arc, which I guess Sentomaru, I guess, was the main villain of that arc. Sentomaru, working for Vegapunk, now a full-fledged Marine officer. I don't think we know his rank, though. Working there with Vegapunk in his lab, so, you know, if Smoker and Tashigi are with Vegapunk, you know, Sentomaru is probably right next to him as well. If you don't want to go with Sentomaru, maybe the fake Straw Hats, which some of them I think are straight up dead. Caribou kind of murdered some of them there. They probably, if they're still on Sabaody, they're just trying to lay low, or they just left left and went back to the East Blue. Most of them are from the East, and they just decided, all right, well, we tried to do this fake Straw Hat thing, but it didn't really pan out. All right, let's go back to the East Blue, everybody. Just bail. Let's just bail here. Then maybe they got wiped out in the Calm Belt along the way. Who knows? Then I guess Caribou himself. Caribou got, defeated by Jinbei after Fishman Island, and then was thrown over to the Marines, but he managed to escape the Marines, meet back up with his crew, led a revolution on a random island somehow, and then eventually got defeated by a giant dinosaur who was X-Drake, brought him back to Wano, and then he was imprisoned in Udon, where he met Luffy and Raizo and was very useful in escaping from the prison. And now, here's the thing, Caribou's supposed to be a member, I guess, of the rebellion, of the war against, Kaido. He's a member of the samurai, and his devil fruit would definitely be immensely useful in storing infinite objects inside of him, but we have not seen anything from Caribou since the breakout. Caribou, he's kind of a coward, and he doesn't really like to fight in that particular instance, so upon seeing that they were going up against not one but two Yonko, Caribou might have just waited for a moment and then escaped, and maybe he did get away. Maybe he just managed to escape from the battlefield, and he's still in Wano, but he's hiding somewhere as like mud, so they don't know where he's at, and they don't really have time to go find him because they had to get the war ready to go. They had to get the rebellion moving. So it's like, we can't find Caribou. He would have been so useful. Well, we can't find him now. We got to get going. Get on the ships. Let's go. So, yeah, don't know what's up with Caribou, but I think he's probably going to show up. It might not be until maybe we move this to mainland Wano with Onigashima moving over the capital or whatever. Maybe then Caribou will make an appearance, but we have not seen him at all on Onigashima, so we do not know what's up with him, but he's still probably in Wano. Then we have Fishman Island, Hody Jones. It's Hody Jones, right? I always switch back and forth between Hody and Hordy. Hordy Jones? Hody Jones? I don't know. Let's back up for a second here, seriously. Let's just remember the fact that Luffy fought against a great white shark roided out of his goddamn mind, all right? That was the villain. Like, okay, after the Straw Hats come back from this time skip, they're going to be super powerful, right? They're going to be really powerful. So whatever villain they fight against has to be kind of somewhat powerful, but I can't make them too powerful. I got to make the Straw Hats show how strong they've gotten over the time skip. So Oda's like, oh man, how am I going to do this? All right, well, they're going to Fishman Island, so of course the villain is going to be, let's say, a great white shark fishman. Okay, that makes sense. But even a great white shark fishman, that's not dangerous enough for Luffy. I don't know. How about I just roid him up? Have all the roids. There you go. And so he goes crazy, and Luffy still punches him. So because of the effects of the energy steroids, he ends up aging rapidly. So by the end of the arc, he's in prison still, but his shackles and everything fall off because he ages to like 150 years old or whatever, okay? And I'm assuming that it's not reversible. All of the members of the new Fishman Pirates are still like that. So Hody is still alive, probably in a nice, quiet retirement home, maybe in Fishverley Hills or whatever. It's like, I wanted to defeat the Straw Hats. I punched a giant monster. Went, okay, old man, okay, that's good. Let's go eat your porridge. I don't want porridge. I'm a shark. I eat meat. And his teeth just keep falling out. And he's like, okay, we'll get you meat-flavored pudding or oatmeal or whatever. Here you go. Okay, so, yeah, I'm not even exaggerating. I don't think Neptune is cruel enough to keep them in prison when they're so obviously, like, they can't fight. They're so aged. They probably don't have many years to live anyway, and their bodies are completely worn out from the energy steroids. So, yeah, they would probably just, like, oh, this is just sad. Probably kept them in jail for a little while, but, like, this is just sad. Just move them somewhere that's not, like, out in the public. Somewhere safe where, they can be observed in case anything happens, like the effect is reversed or something. But for the most part, they can just sit there and do crossword puzzles or Sudoku or something. Maybe watch episodes of freaking Columbo on the TV Land channel or something. I don't know. It's just like, yeah. By the way, my mom... she's obsessed with Columbo right now. The detective show from the 70s. Oh my god, she's just all about Columbo all day after she gets home. Like, gotta watch my episode of Columbo. I'm like, all right. So I'm kind of well-versed on Columbo lore right now, if I ever want to do a Columbo video. Moving on to Caesar Clown. Okay, so Caesar Clown, man, he had a crazy adventure, did he not? Okay, so he experimented on children at Punk Hazard. That wasn't really cool. Got the crap beat out of him by Luffy. That's cool. Got taken to Zoe, Dressrosa, and then Zoe. Basically, it was like the valet service or like the driver for the Straw Hats, using his gas powers to like transport them around every now and and then, constantly beat up by the Straw Hats, having his heart taken by Law, and then by Beiji, you know, so not a fun time for Caesar, okay, but he did some really messed up stuff in his life, so this is kind of his comeuppance for that. So after the events of Whole Cake Island, after the execution plot, the assassination plot for Big Mom fails, Beiji kind of tosses him back his heart, and he's just like, get out of here, and Caesar's like, oh, I'm finally freed, pop, it's like, I'm out of here, suckers, good luck fighting against Yonko, you idiots, and then he just bailed, okay, he just got the hell out of there as quickly as possible, and so I'm going to assume Caesar. Okay, I was kind of joking with, like, Morgan, you know, living in a log cabin out in the woods or whatever, but you know what? If I was Caesar, after everything that's just happened to him, you know, he was honestly asking for it with, you know, he was manipulating Yonko, like, he was, like, taking Big Mom's money and just blowing it on whatever. So, you know, he's messed up a lot in his life. If Caesar is smart, right now, he would just be like, I'm done. I'm done. I am using my gas powers to fly out of the Grand Line. I'm going to find a nice quiet place somewhere in like the South Blue or whatever. I guess if it's the Grand Line, the New World, it'd be the North Blue or the West. I'm just going to go to the West Blue. I'm going to chill out on a random island and I'm just going to live there. Okay? I'm not going to mess with anything anymore. Okay? Fine. And he just does that, okay? And I really want to see in the next cover page. We should be getting the next cover series relatively soon. It's been a while since Beiji's Oh My Family. We should really get another cover series. Maybe the next one will start in the next chapter. New cover series with the continuing marvelous misadventures of Caesar Clown, all right? And he just gets in a bunch of wacky hijinks along the way. I don't know how that's going to go. He is still really relevant. He might tie back into Vegapunk's plot. Maybe he might try to escape, but then ends up, like, Vegapunk ends up finding him, and, like, Vegapunk invents, like, this giant hose to, like, suck up gas, and Caesar's like, crap, and then gets sucked in. He's like, Caesar, welcome back. Aw, damn it, I just want to get the hell out of here. He's just like, too bad, you're helping me with this now. He's like, damn you, Vegapunk, you know, whatever. You're always one step ahead of me. Next up, Doflamingo. Made a whole video about this. Doflamingo's currently in Impel Down, level 6. I made a whole video talking about how he would escape, or if he would escape, and when he does escape, what would he be doing. I would really love to see Doflamingo show up at the final war, though. Like the final war at Laugh Tale. Like, everybody's kind of gathered at that one point, and then you just see Doflamingo racing toward the battlefield, still wearing his prisoner outfit, arriving there, and like, hey, Straw Hats, remember me? That would be cool. That would be cool with Dofi to see what he's up to. But currently, level 6 Impel Down. Sorry, Barry. Next up, Zoe. So we have Jack, who is, of course, the main villain of Zoe. He is currently a giant mammoth fighting against a dog at Onigashima. So, yeah, he turned into a mammoth and used a gas weapon to defeat all of the Minks at Zoe. And then he went to go try to get Doflamingo back. Sengoku and, maybe not Sengoku, but Fujitora and Suru beat the crap out of him, but Sengoku was there too. And then he went back to Zoe, got the crap beat out of him by a giant elephant, was under the water for a little while, got rescued by Kaido's crew, went back, got his crap beat out of him by Ashura Doji, and then got the crap beat out of him by a bunch of Minks and their Sulongs, then defeated a bunch of Minks, and now he's basically a mammoth, and now he's fighting against Inuarashi, and it was kind of that nice little moment where Jack is like, there's no full moon down here, stupid dog, and Inuarashi's like, oh, that's funny, there's no poisonous gas around here either, so it should be pretty even. So, looking forward to that, so they're about to fight there. Moving up, we now have Big Mom, who is, of course, the main villain at Whole Cake Island. Big Mom is now on Onigashima, no longer fighting alongside Kaido, but now is about to fight against Eustace, Captain Kidd, in the 3rd or 4th floor of the tower. She just created a new homie, Hera, that devoured Zeus, and so now Hera powered up. And so now we have Napoleon, Prometheus, and Hera all working together with Big Mom to fight against Kidd. I also think Law is going to show up, too, at kind of like the last minute, and it's going to be Law and Kidd together fighting against Big Mom. Okay, so that's where that's going. So yeah, she's stomping around Onigashima. Then we had Reverie, so Eam. Eam is just chilling. Just chilling. I don't know what Eam does. But he's hanging out there on the throne. Being Eam, being the mysterious ghost, vampire, werewolf, alien, zombie creature, whatever he is. I had another idea involving Eam, and I don't know how you would feel about this. What if it's like you know, one of the Celestial Dragons is just, you know, nominated to take the title of Eam. Like, way back in the day, there was an original Eam-sama that ruled over the world government when it first started, but it wasn't like an immortal being. He just, you know, he or she just died like a normal human, and then it's like the title, like the king title, but the Eam title is passed down through the generations. You know, so it's like a thing where maybe you have 6 members of the Gorosei, I guess they'd be like the Rokusei instead, but 6 members, and then they elect one of their own to become the new Eam, and Eam is sort of the supreme, unquestioned ruler of the world, and the 5 Gorosei are there as just like the instruments to like enact his will or her will on the rest of the world. Okay, it might be something like that. It kind of bogs it down to Eam just being a normal human though, so I don't know how I like that. I kind of like the idea of Eam being like an immortal spirit or something, but I guess we'll see. But Eam is, yeah, just hanging out in the empty throne. And then finally, we have the main villain, the star of the hour at Onigashima and Wano. We have Kaido of the Beasts. Duck Dragon Fish Extraordinaire, all right? And so currently, he's dealing with some stuff. He's really had it rough. You know, he went into his hybrid dragon form. He had this fight with Luffy, and he thought it was going to be on equal terms. Luffy learned Advanced Conquerors, so he's like, oh, okay, this is going to be a fight. And for the first time in a long time, you know Kaido was just like, yeah, I could finally do this. I can fight all out. Yeah! And takes his Kanabo at Luffy, and then just, boo, knocks him clear off of Onigashima. And so now Kaido, he's got to sort through some things in his head. You know, he's got to be like, oh, man, am I ever going to fight against somebody as strong as me? Probably not. And this is the strongest person in all of One Piece currently right now, from what we understand. If it's one-on-one, Kaido wins. So, I don't know. Kaido versus the Admirals, Kaido versus Rayleigh, Kaido versus Shanks. I mean, throw it down there below on what you think would happen. But at any rate, there are all the main villains and antagonists of One Piece. There's more. Like, I guess I could include Aki Inu. All right, bonus round. Aki Inu. Aki Inu is probably in the middle of doing a mountain of paperwork right now, where he would rather just be out there in the New World bringing in pirates like he used to as an admiral, but he's the fleet admiral now, so he has to take all these rules from the Gorosei, and he has to do a lot of paperwork, and Sengoku occasionally pokes his head and is like, hey, how you doing? You gotta get those forms done by Friday, or else Marla down in Human Resources is gonna be pissed. It's like, I know, Sengoku, shut up! Aren't you gonna help me? It's like, yeah, I would, but my golf game is starting in about an hour, so I gotta get ready for that. He's like, ugh! And so Aki Inu is just probably buried in paperwork right now. He's like, screw this! And he just melts all the paperwork. I'm the Admiral, damn it! And he just flies off, and I'm gonna bring in Kaido myself! And he just like rockets off. He can't take it anymore. He just snaps. So, yeah. But he's at not G1, where it used to be G1. He's at Marine HQ right now. Alright, so anyway, that's all the villains and antagonists of One Piece, at least the major ones. Thanks for watching the video, everybody. This has been a long one, but I hope you guys all enjoyed. And, you know, for these characters that we don't know 100% that I had to come up with, like, headcanon for. And what do you think they're up to if you don't want to subscribe to my bakery theories out there? So what exactly do you think, you know, Crocodile is up to exactly? Or what exactly, you know, Morgan is at right now? Let me know in the comments below. All right, so thanks for watching. This will be Tekking and Barry signing out.